Good evening. My name is Yap Ting Han. Welcome to my presentation of Math All Around Us. Before I begin, I'd like to start out by saying that due to the fact that my school was snowed in this week, I decided to do my Math All Around Us presentation on two math activities that I did with my class in the past before we got snowed in this week while still in this academic year. A little bit about myself and my community. I am a fourth grade teacher teaching all subjects in Cumberland County. I teach at Bill Hefner Elementary School, and my class size at the time of the activity is 19 students. My class size now is 24, but at the time it was 19, and it is split amongst six tables, which will factor into the activities I will get into. The two activities I picked were two activities that touched on the same standard of multiplication, with the second one also including within multiplication a focus on the factors in multiplication. So they're both group activities, one with a more competitive element to it and one less so. Moving into my first math activity one, the first math activity is called Math Team Multiplication Battle. So this is an activity where my students are split into six teams based on the table they're sitting at. And a player on a team gets selected to answer a multiplication problem. If a player gets it wrong, then another team has a chance to steal. Getting a question correct gains a point for every player on the team. Getting a question incorrect loses just the player uh, the dojo points. So, a little bit about the innovative aspect of this activity. For starters, it is a team activity that plays into the competitive element of the students where they like to compete each other while infusing the learning with it. So, there's some uh, positive feeling of earning points tied together with a learning activity because it's competitive, it also engages the students more so. And on top of that, I chose to do this activity during a time on a day where we had to have indoor recess due to the weather outside. The reason I did this, or the reason I choose days like this for an activity like this, is because the students themselves don't lose on the main lesson of the day. However, they don't feel like they're losing outdoor recess time by doing this activity. So the students are more positively engaged. So, furthermore, the specifics of this activity is that we start off in terms of rigor, we start off with just the timetables 1 times 1 to 12 times 12. In that way, when the students are selected, I would audibly ask them a question and they would have 5 seconds to be able to answer that problem, which encourages fluency through more reputation of their times tables. As we did this activity more, as they got better at multiplication, we moved on to multi-digit, uh, whether it was addition, subtraction, multi-digit addition, multi-digit subtraction, multiplication, stuff that there wouldn't be a time limit and they could work out on the board. So with this activity, the points they were playing for, the points at stake, were the class dojo points. So my school does a system where students can earn class dojo points, and then the dojo points could then be redeemed when they go to the what's called the dojo store for some goodies here and there. So another innovative aspect of this activity is that to try to cut down on the negativity in the game and maximize the positivity. Um, in emotion is that when a student gets a question right, everyone on their team, including themselves, gets a dojo point. But if they get the question wrong, only they would lose the dojo point and not their teammates. So this would be to try to discourage blaming of teammates if a student wasn't doing as well with the math activity. Lastly, the players are chosen with equity sticks. So I have a jar of equity sticks in which I would uh, pick the players of that from that jar, and this is to ensure that each player has an equal chance of getting selected. Furthermore, if multiple players in a row were selected from the same team, I would put the stick back and then reselect to draw players from another team. This is to try to get give each team equal chances of being selected. And then if a player got it wrong, another team trying to steal, I would be selecting them by hand. If when we did, if you're trying to steal the question, that individual player would be the one who has to answer without team help. So moving on to my second math activity. My second math activity is called Math Factor Arrays. So this time they're split into six groups, once again based on table. And I say groups instead of teams because this is more of a project that has a less competitive element to it. So each group gets a different number, and each group must make a rectangular array with the number of squares that make up that number. So to use a simple example, if a group got the number 12, they could make a rectangular array as seen in the first picture on the slide with the apple 3 by 4. If they're able to come up with one rectangular arrays where they cut out squares and glue it onto a construction paper, they would be encouraged to find all the rectangular arrays of for that number. This is to encourage the students to find all the factors in a multiplication problem. And once they were done with all that, then they could make it pretty because numbers are my students enjoy art, and to encourage them to take pride in their work, this would be hung up on the bulletin board outside. So this is more collaborative, and once again, the students are working with the students at their table opposed to just students they pick, and then some of them would, get some numbers that would have more factors along with this, so they could do more orientations. I would try to veer away from prime numbers so that they would be able to find more factors. This is an activity that was planned within one of the lessons we did in the past. Lastly, I'd like to talk about how connecting with my students over the year through finding out about their interests through the different subjects. I try to connect math to the different subjects that we teach as well, since math is all around us. So if they're interested in something in science like rocket ships, I let them know about the math relevancy tied to that. Thank you for listening to my presentation tonight.